When you sit down to write a story, do you begin with an outline?
Yes, for sure. I'll now that I've written a couple things, I definitely do my best to try to put it into a log line first, because the classic Save the Cat book very much harps on that, and I'm sure every young writer reads it and is like, please, I got this great life thing or whatever, and I'm gonna figure it out as I go. But it'll save a lot of time. So I try to do a log line. If I just haven't totally cracked the log line, I'll do an outline, and I'll just be really easy on myself. I won't try to make this whole grand scheme, write the whole 110 pages or whatever immediately. I'll write the beginning, I'll write the end, which is where this, character arc comes in. This guy starts with this, he ends with that. And then just fill in that like sandwich in a weird way, then find out the midpoint, like what's the major factor there, and then go through the rest of the kind of the major beat points. And someone said this to me recently. I haven't actually done this much, but they'll write out like once they have all the scenes done, they'll write out the heading to every scene in a script, and then they'll just go back and do dialogue and like fill it in that way. And I really like that, so I'll probably be doing that next time. It's just a good way to be like, to track where you are and not write 15 pages of a monologue that you're gonna cut.
And when you're co-writing a script with someone else, how does that work? Are you doing a lot of the outline and then collaborating on the other parts?
Yeah, it's working with someone else is just a ping pong in writing. I feel like I'd be curious, since I've only really written with one other person, I'd be curious if this changes a lot, and I'll have to search your guys' YouTube channel later to see if anyone else has their opinion on this. But I'll like, one of us will come up with an idea, then we'll start riffing. We'll make a joke about it. Well, actually, we'll joke about whatever it is. It'll either be a funny joke with like, oh, what if that happened to this person? Or it'll be like, you're too tired. That's a horrible idea. um, but it's kind of funny. You kind of trade off, I think, in a creative partnership of being like the good cop, bad cop. Like, there's a better word for it. Somebody says it better than me, but it's like almost like fire testing it, putting it under the fire, where you'll purposely look for holes and be really negative about it, to make sure that it's a good idea. Because if that list is super, super long, you better love that idea. And if it's not, you probably got something that you're going to be excited about in 8 months to do another final draft of. But in terms of My Dead Dad, for example, we sat there and just threw out, we like doing this thing called 50 things, where you just write 50 of the worst ideas you have about a script, Lucas could do this. Lucas could be go on a cruise, or I don't know. Lucas, whatever, just dumb ideas. You'll realize at a certain point, usually like 10% of those ideas aren't so dumb and maybe good, you hope. And you'll turn them into scenes and then do the whole cork board thing. Have 40 scenes lined up, or 40 empty cards lined up, I should say, and start filling them in. And we'll take turns. That process is just kind of like if you're a good communicator with that person, it shouldn't be the end of the world. But when it comes down to actually writing the script and sitting down and final draft, we will very objectively just give even and odd numbers, pretty much, of scene numbers, and say, you got that one, I got that one. Sometimes we'll have trouble. We'll be like, I don't really got much on this scene. This scene was your idea. This was your dumb idea anyway. Like, you go write that one, and vice versa. And then after we've written the whole vomit draft, we'll call it, we'll sit there together and read the script on the same computer sometimes, and just start crossing things off, or move. Let me like write this, or let me add this. And just pick away at the sculpture for a very long time. And there's been other times too where, like the ending of My Dead Dad, for example, it's this like, I think like 5, 6 minutes, maybe it's a little shorter now, but it was like a 6-page monologue, like, which everyone read and was like, I like it. It's gonna be way too long. You're gonna want like 30 seconds of it or something. Like there's no way you're gonna shoot this and be happy with it. And I sat there and like wrote it in like 5 minutes or something in a cafe. I was just like really in the zone that day, and it was one of those like came to me moments, and I was like, you know. And Fabio went and read it and cut some lines, and still everyone was like, no, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Flash forward to like a year later, we shot the whole thing. I did the same thing with the edit as well, and started like mixing, you know, VHS in there and other scenes that we didn't even like shoot, and like put the right music there. And I remember we had our first screening, and we pretty much like hated the whole movie of just like the assembly. We're like, oh God. And then it was a cool moment. Everyone watched the disaster I cut together and was like, you know, but it was still too long anyway. So Fabio and myself sat down and we whittled away at it little by little, just like writing though. It was editing and writing were like the same process pretty much.
What do you mean by the 40 scenes?
So this is kind of a more, less nuanced technique, but usually there's like 40 scenes in a movie, most movies. And that Save the Cat book, man, it's just so good. You'll read stuff and you'll be like, that's not true. And then you'll watch a movie and you're like, what? Are all movies the same? Like even Memento like has a lot of like structural things where you're like, what? But yeah, there'll be usually 40 scenes in a movie, and by scenes, it's usually like beats. Like it's not like literal like shots and stuff or like transitions, but it's always just the most helpful way to pop them on a note card on a cork board or tape them to your wall in your bedroom and regret it when you're trying to go to sleep. But it's a great structural thing to have on deck always, in my opinion.
Wow, Memento. Yeah, that would be an interesting. Have you read the script for that?
Yeah, I haven't read the script, but I've seen it, and like, there's definitely like, there's story beats where you're like, oh, yep, it's right here, you know. It's interesting. I love pointing out to people who haven't read the book, like in a movie or whatever, like even some of the mumblecore movies, I'll be like, no, they still have that beat. It's just like a really soft beat, you know, really soft. Yeah.